A predator princess entered the academy, but the human Deathworlder showed no fear. In the vast silence of space, where a single oath bound predators to eternal violence, one human stood unafraid, poised to unravel the galaxy's fragile peace. Ethan Cole, a 22-year-old human from Earth, stepped off the shuttle ramp, feeling the artificial gravity of Aurora Academy tug at his tall, lean frame. His short brown hair caught the faint breeze of recycled air as he adjusted his crisp blue uniform, stepping onto the orbital campus that gleamed under the distant starlight. Orbiting a blue-green gas giant with storms swirling like angry eyes, the Academy stretched across a 5 kilometers wide disk, its adaptive gravity zones tailored to the 1-200 students from 47 species who trained here for interstellar diplomacy. As Ethan navigated the crowded central atrium, a hum of alien voices surrounded him, punctuated by the rustle of tentacles and the flutter of wings. Whispers slithered through the crowd, sharp with unease. "A Kier here. Can you believe it?" Students glanced nervously, their postures tense, as if expecting a predator to lunge. Undeterred, Ethan pressed forward, his observant eyes scanning the throng, until he reached the lecture hall, where holographic desks flickered to life. When the doors slid open, Sarah Voss entered, her 7-foot-tall form commanding silence. The Kier princess moved with predatory grace, her black-silver fur shimmering under the hall's lights, her glowing yellow eyes sweeping the room. Her razor claws clicked softly on the floor, a sound that sent a shiver through the class. Professor Varn, a tentacled instructor, activated a resource conflict simulation, projecting a planet rich with 3 billion tons of rare minerals, contested fiercely by herbivore farmers and predator hunters. Randomly paired, Ethan and Sarah locked eyes, their partnership sealed by chance. Analyzing the data streams on his console, Ethan proposed a solution with calm precision. "We need transparency," he said, designing a shared sensor network of 500 orbital relays to monitor resource extraction in real time, ensuring no side could cheat. Sarah, her voice a low growl, leaned closer, studying the ecological overlays. "Transparency alone won't suffice," she countered, suggesting an ecological compensation fund that redirected 15% of mining profits to restore predator hunting grounds, preserving their habitats. Their simulation ran smoothly, resolving conflicts without bloodshed, and Professor Varn's tentacles waved in approval. "Innovative. Top marks," he declared, as their solution topped the class leaderboard. Yet as the session ended, herbivore students cast hostile glances at Sarah. A gazelle-like alien muttered, "Savage. How can she contribute without threats?" Others nodded, their eyes narrow with suspicion. Ethan, unfazed, turned to Sarah in the corridor. "Are you planning to hurt anyone?" he asked, his tone steady. She tilted her head, claws flexing slightly. "My claws can tear steel, yet here I sit beside you," she replied, her voice carrying both pride and restraint. A silent beat followed, their mutual respect unspoken but palpable. A hollow bulletin flickered to life in the atrium, announcing the imminent arrival of the Harmony Block, a coalition of herbivore species stirring diplomatic tensions. Ethan's wrist device buzzed with an emergency briefing alert, cutting short any chance to settle into his quarters. He rerouted to the briefing room, where Commander Arlen Voss's stern holographic figure outlined protocols in a silver-gray uniform. "Harmony Block inbound. Stay vigilant," Voss commanded. Ethan absorbed the details, his mind already mapping potential flashpoints. As he moved through the Academy's corridors, energy fields pulsed and security drones hummed overhead. Passing a group of avian students, their feathers ruffled in heated discussion about the Kier's danger, Ethan kept his focus sharp, ignoring their chatter. Sarah caught up, her presence drawing more stares. "You treat me as an equal," she said, curiosity lacing her tone. "Results matter," Ethan replied, their steps synchronized as they walked. A minor alarm interrupted a sensor glitch in the docking bay. Volunteering to investigate, Ethan grabbed a handheld analyzer, with Sarah shadowing him. "I sense no fear in you," she noted, as the bay doors sealed behind them. Scanning the panels, Ethan pinpointed a faulty relay and rerouted power with deft fingers, but the glitch hinted at sabotage. There was no time to dwell. The station's hum masked their footsteps as they returned to the atrium, where whispers had escalated into debates. Professor Varnes summoned them to refine their simulation. Ethan added redundant backups to the sensor relays, while Sarah fine-tuned the fund allocations, precise to the credit. Their teamwork flowed seamlessly, but the hollow bulletin updated with the flotilla's approach vector, compressing time. Another buzz from Ethan's device demanded a medical eval, and he headed to the medbay, where Dr. Marcus Merrow's multi-eyed gaze awaited. The neural scanner hummed as Merrow studied the results, murmuring, "Interesting," without elaborating. Ethan left, his mind racing with possibilities. As the night cycle dimmed the station's lights, he reviewed notes in his bunk, alerts piling up, denying him rest. A shadow moved outside his door. Sarah, her voice low. "We must prepare." They strategized quietly, the gas giant looming through the viewport, its storms a silent warning. Morning brought the flotilla's shadow, ships dotting the stars like predators circling prey. Ethan stood at attention, coordinating with security as drones took position. Sarah joined him, claws sheathed. "Together," she said, her tone resolute. Vibrations shook the deck as the first ship docked, and Ethan moved to greet the ambassadors, his role as a diplomat in training solidifying with each step. The academy spun on, tension coiling tighter, with no pause in sight. The Harmony Block's flotilla pierced the starfield, a procession of sleek vessels carrying delegates from herbivore worlds, their arrival casting long shadows over Aurora Academy. Ethan Cole, his blue uniform slightly rumpled from the night's vigilance, positioned himself in the atrium, his lean frame tense but composed. The air hummed with anticipation, students whispering in clusters, their fear of the Kier palpable. Deep down, Ethan felt a quiet resolve hardening, a determination to bridge the divide that fear had carved. As the lead ship's ramp descended, Ambassador Trelmont emerged, his deer-like Vunari form graceful yet skittish, antlers twitching as if sensing unseen threats. His eyes, wide and darting, locked onto Sarah Voss standing nearby, her towering presence unavoidable. In an instant, Trelmont's legs gave way, collapsing in a heap amid gasps from the crowd. Ethan surged forward, his heart pounding with urgency, steadying the ambassador's trembling body. Sarah hesitated, her yellow eyes flickering with a mix of frustration and concern, her claws curling inward as if to restrain her own instincts. Guiding Trelmont to the medbay, Ethan noted the erratic vitals on his portable scanner, the ambassador's pulse racing like a hunted animal. Trelmont whimpered softly, his antlers scraping the floor in feeble protest, a quirk that betrayed his perpetual nervousness. "Predator," he murmured, voice quivering. Ethan exchanged a glance with Sarah, who lingered at the door, her fur slightly raised. Inside, she felt a sting of isolation, the weight of her heritage pressing like an invisible chain. Yet Ethan's steady gaze offered a silent anchor. In the medbay's sterile calm, a brief quiet settled, allowing Ethan to catch his breath. He watched Trelmont stabilize under the drone's care, reflecting on how fear could twist even the strongest alliances. Sarah stepped closer, her voice a hushed growl. "They see only claws, not choices." Ethan nodded, feeling a spark of empathy for her struggle. Rumors ignited like wildfires through the academy, students demanding Sarah's expulsion, their voices echoing in the corridors. "Her presence threatens everything," one avian student chirped, rallying others with fervent nods. Ethan pushed through the throng, his mind racing, but a new summons pulled him to Dr. Marcus Merrow's lab. The multi-eyed Menthari psychologist greeted him with a quirky blink, his four eyes cycling asynchronously like a malfunctioning circuit, a habit that lent him an air of absent-minded genius. Merrow activated the neural scanner, its beams tracing Ethan's features. "No fear response to predators," he observed, his tone laced with dry amusement, as if discovering a rare artifact. He explained the trait's rarity, tying it to Earth's harsh origins, but his eyes twinkled with curiosity, making him seem less like a mere analyst and more like a puzzled scholar. Ethan absorbed the words, a subtle pride swelling within him, validating his unflinching calm amid chaos. Leaving the lab, Ethan found Commander Arlen Voss in the corridor. The human liaison's stern face marked by a faint scar across his jaw, which he clenched habitually when deep in thought. Voss briefed him succinctly, highlighting how negotiations with predators often faltered without minds unafraid of danger. "We need your kind, Cole," he said, his voice gruff but edged with reluctant admiration, revealing a man shaped by battles yet hopeful for change. Ethan felt the weight of expectation, his resolve deepening. Sarah approached in a secluded alcove, her posture proud, but her eyes betraying vulnerability. She confided about the predator's oath, her voice trembling slightly, the ancient vow that demanded violence to prove strength. Ethan listened, sensing her internal turmoil, the pride clashing with a yearning for freedom. "You could challenge it," he suggested gently, planting seeds of doubt in her disciplined mind. Sarah paused, her claws flexing, a quiet moment stretching between them as she grappled with the idea, her heart aching with the possibility of change. The hollow bulletin flared red, announcing the tribunal, sending ripples of tension through the station. Students gathered, debates intensifying, but Ethan and Sarah found a brief respite in a viewport lounge, gazing at the gas giant's swirling storms. In that silence, Ethan reflected on his own lack of fear, wondering if it was a gift or a curse, while Sarah's presence beside him felt like a fragile bridge. An alert shattered the quiet, a signal interference in the atrium. Ethan grabbed his analyzer, Sarah at his side, their partnership a steady force. They traced the anomaly, hinting at deeper sabotage, but Voss's drones were already sweeping. "Stay vigilant," Voss urged, his jaw clenching. In the dorms, Sarah lingered near Ethan's door, her voice soft. "They fear us both now." Ethan met her gaze, feeling a bond forming. "Then we show them otherwise." The tribunal's shadow loomed, but in that hushed exchange, doubt mingled with hope. As the flotilla settled, vibrations hummed through the deck. Ethan coordinated security. Sarah's presence was a silent strength. The academy pulsed with unrest, yet in fleeting pauses, reflections deepened, preparing them for the storm ahead. The interstellar tribunal hall rose like a cathedral of alloy, its 300-meter dome catching the artificial glow of Aurora Academy's lights. Ethan Cole entered, his blue uniform a quiet contrast to the buzzing tension within, his lean frame steady despite the sleepless hours. Inside, delegates from dozens of star systems filled the tiered seats, their murmurs a restless tide. Sarah Voss strode beside him, her black-silver fur shimmering, her yellow eyes sharp. Ethan felt a quiet resolve anchoring him, even as the hall's scrutiny pressed against them both. Counselor Keros, a wiry herbivore from the Harmony block, took the podium, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "A predator among scholars? Absurd!" His eyes darted nervously, a sheen of sweat on his brow betraying hidden anxiety. He projected a hollow vid of Sarah shredding a training drone, her claws a blur of precision. The crowd gasped, some leaning forward in fear, others in reluctant awe. Ethan stepped up, his voice calm but firm. "Her actions saved lives in our simulation." He uploaded their resource conflict solution, the hollow screen glowing with data that silenced whispers, if only briefly. A faint hum cut through the hall, an unnatural pulse that made Sarah's fur bristle. Her claws twitched, a flicker of instinct she fought to suppress. Ethan's handheld analyzer caught the signal of an echo fear emitter, designed to amplify herbivore panic. He exchanged a glance with Commander Arlen Voss, who stood at the hall's edge, his silver-gray uniform taut as he tapped his fingers rhythmically on his holopad, a habit that surfaced under strain. "Find it," Voss ordered, his jaw grinding slightly as he deployed a drone sweep to hunt the device's source. Keros sneered, his voice quivering despite his bravado. "She's a weapon, not a diplomat," Ethan countered, his tone steady, feeling a spark of defiance for Sarah's cause. "She's here to learn, not destroy." The delegates murmured, some nodding, others recoiling, their fear clashing with admiration for Sarah's restraint. Ethan stood firm, his observant nature grounding him amid the chaos, a human unshaken by the predator at his side. Sarah stepped forward, her presence commanding silence. "I am a princess of the Kier," she declared, her growl resonant, her eyes burning with pride and pain. The hall erupted, hollow transmissions flickering with outraged Kier delegates, their roars distant but fierce. Ethan's heart tightened, sensing the weight of her revelation. She was risking everything. He saw fear in the crowd's widened eyes, but also awe, a grudging respect for her courage. Inside, he felt a surge of admiration, her defiance echoing his own quiet strength. A brief silence fell, a moment to breathe. Ethan glanced at Sarah, her claws still, her gaze distant, as if wrestling with the oath that bound her people. He wanted to speak, to offer support, but the moment passed as Voss's drones projected a feed. The Echo Fear device, hidden in a conduit, its pulse confirmed as sabotage. Ethan's analyzer traced the signal, pointing to Kiros's delegation, though proof remained elusive. Voss's fingers tapped faster, his voice low. "Keep her safe, Cole." Ethan nodded, positioning himself subtly to shield Sarah from the crowd's glares. The tribunal adjourned for deliberation, and in the quiet corridor outside, Ethan paused, letting the weight of Sarah's confession settle. She stood beside him, her breathing steady but heavy, as if carrying her entire species' legacy. "They'll never trust me," she murmured, her voice softer now, laced with doubt. Ethan met her gaze, his calm unwavering. "They will. We'll make them." An alert pinged a power grid anomaly threatening the tribunal's next session. Ethan grabbed his analyzer, Sarah following, their steps synchronized. In a service bay, he traced a tampered panel, its circuits rigged to overload. With deft fingers, he rerouted the flow, preventing chaos, but the sabotage confirmed a deeper plot. Sarah's claws hovered, ready to act, but Ethan waved her back. "We stay strategic," he said, his mind racing with the implications. Voss summoned them to a briefing room, his fingers still tapping as he outlined the tribunal's stakes. "It's close," he said, his jaw grinding again, betraying his tension. Sarah stood like a sentinel, her resolve hardened, but her eyes flickering with the cost of her stand. Ethan studied her, feeling their bond deepen, forged in shared defiance. In a fleeting moment of quiet, they stood by a viewport, the gas giant's storms churning beyond. Ethan reflected on his fearlessness, a trait now tested by the galaxy's politics, while Sarah's silence spoke of her inner battle. The Academy hummed with unrest, but their partnership held firm, a beacon in the gathering storm. As they moved to rejoin the tribunal, the gas giant's tempests raged outside, their swirling chaos a mirror to the hall's turmoil. Like those storms, the delegates' fears spun wildly, threatening to tear apart the fragile hope Ethan and Sarah carried. Yet their resolve stood unshaken, a quiet force against the coming tempest. The interstellar tribunal hall pulsed with tension, its dome catching the artificial glow like a storm about to break. Ethan Cole stood near the central podium, his lean frame steady in his blue uniform, though his heart thrummed with the weight of Sarah Voss's revelation. She took the stand, her 7-foot form towering, black-silver fur glinting under the lights, her yellow eyes blazing with resolve. "I renounce the Predator's oath," she declared, her growl reverberating through the hall. "I choose diplomacy over conquest." Ethan felt a surge of awe, her words a blade cutting through centuries of tradition. Yet he saw the flicker of fear in her gaze, the cost of defying her people. The hall erupted, delegates shouting, hollow transmissions crackling with furious Kier voices, their fur raised in outrage across distant stars. Ethan stepped closer, his calm a quiet anchor, uploading their simulation data to a towering holoscreen. The display showed their resource conflict solution, a plan that preserved millions of lives, its logic stark against the chaos. "She's proven her intent," he said, his voice steady, cutting through the clamor. Inside, he wrestled with the stakes, knowing Sarah's stand could reshape galactic alliances or shatter them. Counselor Keros, his eyes darting nervously, sneered from his seat, his sarcasm sharper now, though his sweating brow betrayed his unease. A predator playing diplomat? A farce? His words stung, but Ethan caught Sarah's glance, her claws still, her pride battling doubt. A faint hum persisted in the hall, the echo fear emitter's sabotage lingering like a ghost. Ethan's analyzer had traced its signal to Kiros's delegation, and now Commander Arlen Voss's drones delivered proof. Their holofeed showing Kiros's aide planting the device. The aide, a jittery Vunari, confessed under pressure, his voice breaking as he implicated Kiros. Voss, his fingers tapping a restless rhythm on his holopad, his jaw grinding softly, addressed the hall. "This was sabotage," he said, his tone clipped but heavy with authority. The delegates shifted, some herbivore faces softening, others hardening with defiance. Ethan felt the tide turning, his mind racing to secure Sarah's place. He uploaded the signal log, its coded signature damning Keros further, though the counselor's smirk lingered, as if he held one last card. Sarah produced a shimmering hollow document, the Kier Restraint Charter, a 400-year-old vow of nonviolence. She signed it with a claw, her gesture deliberate, each stroke a rejection of her ancestral oath. The hall fell silent, a heavy pause as delegates absorbed the act. Ethan's chest tightened, pride mingling with worry for what she'd face from her own kind. Sarah's eyes met his, a flicker of gratitude passing between them, a bond forged in this crucible of choice. The tribunal voted, the outcome tight, with just over half supporting Sarah's stay. Harmony Block delegates stormed out, their hooves and claws echoing in protest, leaving a fractured hall. Ethan stood by Sarah, feeling the weight of their victory, fragile but real. In a quiet moment by the podium, she murmured, "I've burned bridges today." Her voice carried a tremor, the princess now in exile in spirit. Ethan replied softly, "You've built new ones." The silence between them held hope, a shared defiance against the odds. Voss approached, his tapping fingers stilled, his scar-lined jaw set. "You're assigned to the Institute of Dual Instinct Diplomacy," he told them, his voice gruff but approving. "Your work starts now." Ethan nodded, his mind already mapping the implications, while Sarah's posture straightened, her resolve hardening despite the cost. A hollow message flickered on Voss's pad, warning of the Triad conflict, a three-way standoff brewing 8 light-years away. Ethan felt the pull of duty, no rest in sight. As they left the hall, the gas giant loomed through the viewport, its storms a swirling mirror of the tribunal's unrest. Ethan paused, letting the sight ground him, his fearlessness a steady flame amid the chaos. Sarah stood beside him, her breathing slow, her eyes distant as she grappled with her choice. "My people may never forgive me," she said, her voice low. Ethan turned to her, his calm unwavering. "Then we'll show them you were right." An alert pinged, another anomaly in the station's grid. Ethan grabbed his analyzer, Sarah following, their steps synchronized. In a service bay, he found a tampered circuit rigged to disrupt the next session. His fingers moved swiftly, rerouting power, but the sabotage underscored the ongoing threat. Sarah's claws hovered, ready but restrained. "They won't stop," she growled. Ethan nodded, his mind sharp. "Neither will we." The academy's corridors buzzed with whispers, students debating the vote, some casting wary glances at Sarah. Ethan diffused a heated argument with a calm word, his presence a steadying force. In a fleeting pause by a viewport, he reflected on his role, a human from a death world now shaping galactic peace. Sarah's courage lingered in his thoughts, her defiance a spark that fueled his own. As they prepared for the next challenge, the gas giant's tempests churned beyond, their fury a silent echo of the battles ahead. Ethan and Sarah stood together, their partnership a fragile but unyielding thread, weaving through the storm of fear and ambition that threatened to consume the stars. The diplomatic frigate cut through the star-speckled void. Its engines hummed low, vibrating in Ethan Cole's chest. He stood on the bridge, blue uniform clinging to recycled air. His tall, lean frame stayed composed amid the crew's tension. Sarah Voss paced nearby, her 7-foot form cast long shadows. Black-silver fur rippled with each step, glowing yellow eyes fixed on the tactical holo display. Ethan breathed steadily, his calm shielded him. Yet the Triad conflict's scale stirred unease. Humanity's grit faced the galaxy's predators. They neared Neos Station, orbiting a binary star system. The holo flared with faction data. Royale Imperium, pack hunters with synced fleets. Nyx Coalition, ambushers cloaked in shadow. Hellion Syndicate, technocrats with vast AI empires. Ethan traced Ral's strike patterns. Blue glow flickered on his short brown hair. "They move as one, lethal," he murmured, His voice masked admiration. Sarah leaned in, her musky scent mixed with metallic tang. Claws tapped the console. Her growl echoed off the bulkheads. Cloaks falter in cycles. Strike then. Raw pride edged her words. It clashed with her restraint. Ethan sensed her storm, matching his own. Helian demands scrolled on the screen. Text pulsed like a heartbeat. Ethan outlined the Nous Accord. Holographic layers formed. Competitions in mining, transport, and security. Scored over 6 months to channel instincts without blood. The lights dimmed for the simulation. Ethereal glows lit their faces. Sarah's eyes brightened. Her purr vibrated the air. Redirects the hunt. Strength, no slaughter. Ethan nodded. He gripped the console tighter. Their hands brushed. Humanity's ingenuity met her ferocity. A klaxon blared. Ozone stung the air. A RAL cruiser locked on. Crimson light bathed the bridge. Ethan's heart hammered. He exhaled slowly, steadying. Open channel, he ordered, voice unflinching. He negotiated a 72-hour ceasefire. The commander's roar crackled, gravelly, echoing. It conceded with a snarl. Sarah's claws dug into the console. Fur stood. She held back. Her gaze met Ethan's in accord. Docking at Naos, the airlock hissed open. Sterile chill rushed in. A Helian diplomat greeted. Gaze condescending. Voice silky, mocking. Deathworld upstart and tame beast? Quaint. Ethan's jaw clenched. Anger heated his cheeks. He breathed deep. Calm returned. We bring solutions, not scorn. Words cut the sneer. Human spirit unbowed. Sarah growled low, eyes narrowed. Tension's scent is sharp. She stood firm. Restraint countered the taunt. In the antechamber, delegates milled. Air thick with voices. RAL barks, Nyx hisses, Helian hums. Ethan reviewed data. Hollow's blue light danced on his features. Sarah shared insights. Breath warm on his ear. Logic and instinct blended. Then the hollow glitched. Fake data flooded the display. RAL fleets are shown as weakened. Misleading stats twisted the Accord's projections. Whispers spread among delegates. Human tricks, a Nyx hissed. Ethan's pulse quickened. He traced the hack. Fingers flew on controls. They fear balance, Sarah growled. Claws hovered. Humanity's resilience pierced the deception. They returned to the chamber. A Ryal warlord's hollow loomed large. His form hulked, scars crisscrossing fur. Eyes burned with challenge. He leaned forward, shoulders hunched aggressively. Trials! Combat proves worth. His roar shook the panels, deep and guttural, saliva flecking his fangs. The atmosphere thickened. Air grew heavy with anticipation. Delegates leaned in, some fur bristling, others tentacles coiling. Murmurs rose. Ryal allies growled approval. Nyx shadows shifted uneasily. Helians hummed skeptically. Ethan projected the Accord. Light pierced the dim. Voices clashed like thunder. He stood tall, voice steady. Competition, not carnage. The warlord's claws scraped his throne. His snarl echoed. Tension coiled. Audience breaths held. Ethan's calm held firm, a human beacon amid the predatory storm. In a pause, Sarah confided, "This tests us." Ethan met her gaze. Their alliance is strong. Human strength bolstered her change. Tension tightened. An alert flashed. Nyx probes circled. Shadow flickered on sensors. Ethan directed drones. Commands crisp. Sarah sharpened her posture. Ready. Station thrummed. Partnership beamed hope in the fray. In the chamber's glow, Ethan adjusted the hollow with steady hands. The display stabilized, truce emerging as a symbol of unyielding resolve, forging clarity from chaos. Naos Station's negotiation chamber stretched across a kilometer, its curved walls pulsing with holographic star fields that cast flickering shadows across the gathered delegates. Ethan Cole positioned himself at the heart of it all, his blue uniform stretched tight over his lean frame from days of unrelenting vigilance, while Sarah Voss stood firmly beside him, her black-silver fur shimmering under the artificial lights, and her yellow eyes methodically assessing the 300 representatives from the RAL, Nyx, and Helian factions. As the weight of the Triad conflict bore down, Ethan felt his breathing deepen, a deliberate effort to maintain focus amid the rising pressure that made his concentration feel like a taut wire ready to snap. With a steady hand, Ethan brought the hollow display to life, the now's accord materializing in glowing layers of regulated challenges encompassing mining, transport, and ecological security, all designed to harness predatory instincts without descending into outright war. This framework honors strength while fostering stability, he explained, his voice resonating clearly through the chamber's ambient hum, even as Raal warlords responded with deep growls, their pack hunter eyes flashing with challenge. One warlord pounded a clawed fist against the table, his demand for real combat trials sending vibrations through the air, a roar that echoed off the walls and heightened the collective heartbeat of the room. Sarah stepped in seamlessly, her growl carrying a resonant depth that commanded attention. Opt for simulations instead, deploying 1,000 drones to test prowess without loss, she proposed, her claws subtly flexing as she navigated the internal pull between her ingrained pride and her commitment to restraint, her pulse quickening with the effort to bridge those worlds. Suddenly, an alarm pierced the tension, the sharp scent of ozone filling the space as the holodisplay stuttered, overwhelmed by an influx of fabricated data that exaggerated Nick's casualties and sowed seeds of distrust. The delegates exploded into chaos, Nick's representatives hissing accusations of deceit, while Raal figures unsheathed blades, their shouts overlapping in a cacophony that threatened to erupt into violence. Ethan's heartbeat accelerated, a rapid drum in his chest as he fought to steady his breathing, his mind sharpening under the strain while he manipulated his portable AI to pinpoint the intrusion. Sarah moved decisively, positioning her towering form as a barrier against the advancing Raal, her commanding roar cutting through the uproar to demand, "Focus on facts, not fabrications." Her intervention bought precious moments, allowing Ethan to trace and neutralize the hack, restoring the display to reveal the unaltered truth, which gradually quelled the shouts and lowered the weapons, leaving him with a sense of hard-won clarity amid the lingering adrenaline. Undeterred, a Raal champion advanced, his scarred armor reflecting the chamber's lights as he brandished gleaming claws. "Demonstrate your mettle, Kier," he snarled, hunching his shoulders and lashing his tail in a display that thickened the air with anticipation, prompting growls from Raal supporters, uneasy shifts from Nick's shadows, and skeptical hums from Helian technocrats. Sarah entered the improvised arena with fluid grace, executing a precise, non-lethal claw strike that disarmed him swiftly, eliciting gasps and murmurs of reluctant admiration from the crowd. In the brief lull that followed, her eyes sought Ethan's, a shadow of remorse crossing her features. "The urge to finish it was strong," she confided softly, her breathing still uneven from the exertion. Ethan offered a reassuring touch. "Your choice defines you now." The Helian delegation intensified the pressure, unleashing a counter-AI that scrambled the Accord simulations, static crackling across the hollow and reigniting shouts as weapons were redrawn and accusations flew anew. Ethan's focus narrowed intensely, his breath coming in controlled rhythms, despite the mounting urgency that made every second feel compressed, his fingers dancing over the console to rewire and counteract the disruption. Sarah amplified her presence once more, her roar stunning the assembly into a momentary hush as she declared, "Witness the deception unravel. We stand for transparency." This held the delegates' gaze, granting Ethan the critical interval to stabilize the simulations and reaffirm the Accord's integrity. The chamber settling into a tense quiet as blades were sheathed in the human capacity for composure under duress, bolstered by steadfast alliance, turned the tide. A Nyx probe's pulse then hammered the hull, alarms wailing as delegates gripped weapons, Raal blades flashing, Nyx rifles humming, pushing the room to the precipice of conflict. Ethan vaulted onto the negotiation table, his commands sharp and unyielding. "Halt this now!" Sarah's Kier roar amplified the call, a thunderous wave that immobilized the assembly, her claws extended yet restrained, her eyes locking with Ethan's in a bond of mutual resolve. As the immediate threat receded, weapons retracting into holsters, Ethan refined the Accord by incorporating asteroid mining quotas to satisfy ambitions, while Sarah advanced her credit market idea with a powerful declaration. "Let this market rotate advantages fairly, proving that power can serve harmony." To underscore their unity, she placed her claws deliberately on the hollow table beside Ethan's hand, the surface vibrating under their combined touch, a symbolic gesture that drew nods from even the most skeptical delegates. An alert signaled another Nix probe encroaching, its silhouette flickering on sensors, prompting Ethan to issue crisp directives for drone countermeasures, the lingering ozone, a reminder of fragility. Sarah maintained her vigilant stance, claws retracted but ready, her frustration evident in her tightened jaw. Ethan acknowledged her with a nod, his composure a steady force, though the accumulated strain sharpened his awareness of every breath. In a momentary respite near a viewport, the binary stars projected dual illuminations, their rays playing across Sarah's fur as Ethan contemplated his innate resilience, a distinctly human quality serving as a tool in this interstellar forge. Sarah's quiet reflected her ongoing struggle, balancing ancestral pride with newfound aspiration. "Victory draws near," he murmured, his tone a grounding whisper. Her gaze softened in response. "United, we prevail." As the chamber reconvened, factions regarded one another with guarded caution, yet engaged in dialogue, the accord emerging as a tenuous lifeline. Ethan and Sarah remained side by side, their collaboration a radiant counter to the encroaching shadows of war. With discussions reigniting, Ethan extended his hand over the hollow table once more, the interface responding with a soft "whoo," an emblem of enduring determination, sculpting tranquility from the edge of turmoil. Now station's negotiation chamber pulsed with barely contained chaos. Starfield-lit walls cast jagged shadows over the delegates. Ethan Cole balanced atop the central table, his blue uniform strained against his lean frame. His heart thumped hard, a steady drum beat under pressure. Sarah Voss stood close, her black-silver fur catching the hollow's glow. Her yellow eyes burned with defiance. The air thickened with the tang of scorched metal. RAL warlords gripped blades. Nix agents clutched plasma rifles. Hellion technocrats buzzed, their voices a sharp hum. Factions edged closer, growls clashing with hisses, a brawl teetering on the edge of galactic war. Ethan's voice cut through. 30 seconds, stand down! His words were sharp, though his hands shook briefly, a flash of anger surging. Could he hold this chaos back? He steadied himself, breathing evenly. Humanity's calm reasserted. Sarah unleashed a Kier roar, a 120-decibel shockwave rattling the chamber. Delegates froze. Blades hung midair. Rifles dipped. Her claws hovered unstruck, her restraint a wall of power. The room teetered, then exhaled. Weapons eased back. Their combined force pulled the factions from the brink. Ethan's gaze met Sarah's, a silent pulse of gratitude binding them. Seizing the pause, Ethan adjusted the hollow display. The Naos Accord glowed, its light piercing the dim. He added 3 asteroid mining quotas to sate Real's hunger. "This channels your strength," he said, voice firm. Warlord's eyes narrowed, listening. Sarah stepped up. Her growl carried weight. "A rotating credit market balances power. 5-year cycles." Her claws grazed the hollow table beside Ethan's hand. The surface hummed. Their unity drew nods, some grudging, others awed. RAL capped fleet maneuvers at 200 ships per cycle, easing war's shadow. Their warlord's tail flicked, signaling assent. Nix agreed to a penalty for cloaking breaches, ensuring clarity. Their agent's hiss softened to a nod. Hellion pledged an AI for oversight, its digital hum steadying the chamber. Ethan's chest loosened, relief mixing with vigilance. Humanity's composure, paired with Sarah's strength, wove the factions into a fragile pact. A Ryal warlord, scars crisscrossing his fur, lunged forward. He fired a plasma bolt, its 50-kilojoule arc sizzling past Ethan's shoulder. The chamber erupted. Blades clashed on tables. Nix rifles hummed. Helion drones buzzed, sparking. Delegates surged, shouts overlapping. The ion burn sent sharp. Ethan's vision blurred. A spike of fury. How dare they threaten this truce? He dodged, breath hitching, then steadied, Earth's instincts kicking in. Sarah's growl thundered, claws slashing air, not flesh. "Enough!" she roared. The factions froze, blades wavering, rifles lowering. The clash halted, restrained by their defiance. A Nix probe struck, its pulse shaking the hull. Alarms wailed. Shields held at 92%. Delegates gripped weapons again. Real and Hellion nearly colliding. Nick's shadows darting. Ethan directed drones. Commands crisp. The scorched metal tang biting his nose. Sarah stood firm, her roar subduing a skirmish. "They test us," she growled, jaw tight. Ethan nodded, focus sharp, though strain tightened his throat. In a brief pause by the chamber's edge, a cracked wall panel let in a sliver of starlight, its glow dancing on Sarah's fur. Ethan reflected on his resilience, a human spark forged in Earth's crucible, guiding them now. Sarah's silence held her struggle between pride versus hope. "We're rewriting fates," he whispered, voice steady, her eyes softened. "With you, it's real." The accord was signed, sigils pressed to the hollow document, a delicate shield against war. But a Nyx delegate lingered, his slitted eyes like voids reflecting starlight, cold and fathomless. His hiss slithered, an inhuman whisper weaving shadows in the air, a promise of betrayal coiled like frost on a blade, chilling the chamber's fleeting warmth, hinting at darkness yet to strike. As the assembly dispersed, Sarah faced Ethan, claws retracting fully. "Shadows linger," she murmured. Ethan nodded, resolve hardening, humanity's spirit unbowed. The cracked panel's starlight flared, a jagged beam cutting the dark, a symbol of their defiance, holding fast against the cold abyss of coming threats. The shuttle's low hum reverberated through Ethan Cole as it docked at Aurora Academy, its gleaming hull reflecting the gas giant's turbulent storms below. His blue uniform, creased from ceaseless trials, clung to his lean frame, yet he stood tall, a diplomat forged in the fire of the Triad conflict. Sarah Voss moved beside him, her black-silver fur catching the station's soft glow, her yellow eyes carrying a quiet pride that echoed Ethan's own resolve. The Nous Accord, holding steady with near-perfect compliance in its first cycle, had staved off galactic war, marking them as trailblazers of the Institute of Dual Instinct Diplomacy. Still, the Nyx agent's chilling whisper lingered in Ethan's mind, a cold shadow creeping over their hard-won victory. In the Academy's central atrium, students parted, their murmurs now tinged with reverence rather than fear. Ethan felt a shift within himself, no longer the eager student who first arrived, but a leader shaped by Earth's relentless crucible, his fearlessness a honed blade. Sarah, unshackled from the predator's oath, strode with newfound ease, her presence a beacon of transformation. She led sessions for 50 Kier diplomats, her voice steady in the lecture hall, hollow displays illuminating her nonviolent principles. Ethan observed, a warmth kindling in his chest, their bond a quiet strength deepened by shared battles. Commander Arlen Voss met them in a briefing room, his silver-gray uniform sharp, his scarred jaw softening as he pinned a commendation to Ethan's chest. His fingers, usually tapping, rested still, a rare calm. "3 conflicts faced and survived, Cole," he said, voice gruff but warm. "You've earned this." Ethan stood straighter, pride swelling, humanity's tenacity celebrated across species. Voss turned to Sarah, his eyes kind. "Your choice rewrote the stars." She nodded, fur shimmering, her silence heavy with the weight of her sacrifice and triumph. Dr. Marcus Marrow, his 4 eyes blinking in their quirky rhythm, broadcast a study across 12 star systems, his voice brimming with scholarly zeal. "Cole's fearlessness elevates negotiation success significantly," he declared, hollow data glowing. Ethan absorbed the words, his thoughts drifting to Sarah's courage, the spark that fueled their victories. In a hushed moment by a viewport, the gas giant's storms churned, mirroring their journey. Sarah's gaze met his, soft yet fierce. "We've changed more than treaties," she said, her voice low, resonant. Ethan's fingers brushed hers, a fleeting connection, their partnership a bridge spanning worlds. The Institute grew, welcoming 200 predator-cooperator pairs, its halls alive with new voices. Ethan and Sarah guided them, their Nous Accord a model in simulations. Yet the Nyx agent's shadowy vow gnawed at Ethan, urging vigilance. He reviewed defense protocols, hands steady on his console, while Sarah stood sentinel, claws sheathed but alert, her vigilance a shield against unseen threats. A hollow memorial flickered in the atrium, honoring Sarah's oath renunciation, its light casting her silhouette across the gathered crowd. Students watched, some herbivores now nodding, others still cautious, as she spoke of choice over instinct. Ethan joined her, their shoulders brushing, a silent vow of unity that stirred a quiet affection, unspoken but deep. The moment felt like a shared heartbeat, their trials forging something beyond diplomacy. An alert sounded, signaling their next mission, a 15-light-year leap to a new conflict zone. Ethan packed swiftly, movements precise, while Sarah studied star maps, her growl low with resolve. The academy buzzed, its corridors vibrant with the next wave of envoys. Voss briefed them, his jaw grinding faintly. "You've shown what's possible. Keep showing it." Ethan nodded, his spirit unyielding, humanity's adaptability a guiding star. By the viewport, the gas giant loomed, its storms a testament to the chaos they'd tamed. Ethan paused, Sarah at his side, and spoke, his voice steady yet profound. "Peace isn't the absence of strength. It's strength choosing a higher path, a path we've carved through fire and shadow, proving that together we can shift the galaxy's course." His words lingered, a quiet declaration of their shared vision, his heart anchored by purpose. As the shuttle's engines roared, Sarah's claws rested on the console, a final act of commitment. A faint plasma glow from the engines flickered through the cabin, its fiery pulse a symbol of their unquenched resolve, burning bright against the cold shadows of threats yet to come.